So here I am with a little bit of late summer sewing for you. I am making a very ruffly top, fluffy and ruffly, with miles of gathering, at least it felt like that. And that was no fun in chiffon. Chiffon also meant that I needed an undertop, so not to flash everyone because it's very see-through. And these two are part of my planned capsule wardrobe. You will find the link in the description. As you can see, I didn't follow my plans at all. And that's basically because I didn't have enough fabric, as usual. So hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Tina. I'm really happy to have you here. Today I am going to share with you how I make these two tops, and I'm going to start with the undertop. I have a pattern for a loose-fitting top that I am making a few changes to. And I'm cutting it out from some simple plain cotton and trying it on. And of course I want the straps to cover my bra straps, so I am adjusting the position. And this top is, as I said, very loose fitting, very wide, so I am pinning it in along the side seams. Not to be tight, but following the body more closely. The back is absolutely huge, I have to take it in. And it's also definitely not covering the bra straps. And to be able to pin things on your back, you have to take it off and pin it and then try it on again, because it's absolutely impossible otherwise. And now I have done that, and I do think that the fit is much better. Just some final fiddling. The back is way smaller, covering the bra straps. I have to scoop out the armhole, definitely. And now I'm ready to transfer all of this to my pattern. And I've pinned the side seams in a very uneven way. So I'm measuring each side and writing it down and then adding these numbers together and divide in two. And that means that the number that I get is the number that I need to take it in on each side. This is 6 centimeters. And that is at bust level. And I really did pin it in a really bad way, but I'm repeating the same process at the waist and at the hip. And after that on the back side, doing the same thing, getting all the measurements and getting the number sort of in between the measurements, marking them along all 4 sides of these of this top, and then remove the pins. And I'm ready to move on to the next thing. And that is the back piece. I have quite a big sway back, so I've pinned following that shape. And I am also adding fisheye darts, one on each side of the center back seam. I'm placing the upper top of these darts about 1 hand down from the edge at the top, and the bottom about where I ended the pinning. And in between there I find my waist, and there I am placing the widest part, which is about 4 centimeters, and marking this dart shaped as a fisheye. And that is ridiculous because fish have round eyes, as far as I know. But never mind, I'm also marking the placement of the shoulder straps, and after that I am ready to start transferring all of this to my paper pattern. And I'm starting with the back piece. I have my paper pattern here. I'm pinning it back in place pretty carefully, so everything ends up where it should be. And after that I am marking in this new dart, the double-ended dart. Maybe we should call it that, as we have skipped the fish part. And I'm also rounding out the sides a little bit to better follow the shape of the human body. I am also marking the new center back seam because I decided to add a center back seam because of my sway back. I'm also adding a little piece of paper and drawing this line further out over the butt, which is outside of what you can see. So therefore I am showing you here in slow motion the only little piece of film I caught where you can actually see this line going out further across the butt. I'm scooping out the underarm area a little bit, and I'm showing you the dart at the upper center back, or you can hold it in with elastic. And I'm also here marking the shoulder straps to get them the exact right length, but it's always wise to cut your shoulder straps a little extra long because you never know, if they're too short it's very difficult to add. And finally the front piece. Pretty carefully pinning it in place, which is a bit difficult because the dart is still there, but you can do it. And I am transferring all the measures and measuring twice at least to get it perfectly right. And here we have the new side seam. Now, as I just added on a little bit of paper here and there, I of course have to make a proper pattern out of it. So I'm starting all over with a new piece of paper and marking everything very carefully, including here the waistline. And now that I have a good pattern, I am using it to cut out this undertop from this not very nice thin polyester fabric that I have lying around. You still could call this a wearable muslin because, as I said, it's not a nice fabric, but the orange dots goes really well with the other top. So that's that. I am cutting the facings from a thin cotton fabric, and I am cutting the straps with a different grain line from the dotted fabric. And this is to avoid that they stretch out. Now, this thin cotton fabric is from a shirt. And look at what happens when you use sunscreen, which I always do in the summer. It has turned the shirt completely yellow around the collar, so no longer usable. And here are the straps lined. You can see the fabric is very transparent. You see the dots through everywhere from the seam allowances. And I am fiddling with the straps in the back. How to have a little think there. And then pinning them in place and sewing the facings for the straight upper edge of this top. I also made that out of the thin cotton. It's a nicer fabric to have touching your body. And I sew the facing in place along the top edge of the back and the top edge of the front, including the straps, of course. And after that, I sew the side seams, including the facings, and turn it down. And after that, people, it's time to try it on. And I was really happy with the fit here. I liked the fit along my back, really following the sway back. And it's very comfortable. And I can definitely see that I could use the top of this pattern and add a skirt from the waist. And this would make up a very nice sort of summery dress. And the only thing I need to change here is the back of the straps. They are positioned a tiny little bit in the wrong way. That's the only change needed. And that's good because we have a second top to make. Now here are my original ideas for it. And I didn't follow my idea because I didn't have enough fabric. This was originally kind of a big poncho, big square piece of fabric with a hole in the middle for the head. And while it was big, there was nowhere enough fabric for two pieces. And I also was rethinking my complete design. I am bringing out my pencil box. And look at this. It has a motif from Venice on top of it. And I am sketching out some new ideas here. And I was pretty sure from the beginning that I wanted something with a lot of ruffles because of the material. Chiffon looks very good when you gather it quite tightly together and sort of smoosh a lot of fabric into gathers. And I also wanted a V-neck in front and along the sleeves, or perhaps I should say instead of sleeves, I wanted more ruffles. I am more or less inspired by a top that I have in my wardrobe that I have thrifted, and I have found it very useful. I mean, I have been using it a lot. It goes with a lot of different things. So I'm very inspired by that one. And what you see in the image here is the top that we are going to make in just a few seconds. And I sort of immediately realized that I needed some kind of other fabric for the facing around the V-neck because of, number one, added stability, but also number two, this chiffon is definitely, you see the seam allowances through it immediately. So I found this fabric in my stash, and it is an absolute 100% perfect match in color. It's just, it's really, really lucky. And I'm cutting out this facing here. For some reason, I didn't make a fold in center front, but a seam instead. That is a little bit easier when you make a V-neck, but not necessary. And of course, I found that it was a little bit short. The chiffon had probably stretched out a little bit, but I made it work and pinned it with the right side of the facing to the wrong side, the back side of the chiffon. Sewed around this V-neck and flipped it over, and that means that the facing ends up on the outside of the fabric, which was my intention. Now all the seam allowances are covered inside this facing, and I folded the edges under, pressed them in place. You can see that in the image. I'm also adding a few pleats at the bottom on my stomach, and then pinning the facing on top of that, or the front placket, maybe you would say. And this did not turn out perfect, but you can't always hope for perfect. So this is good enough. And then, of course, I top stitched all around this front facing or placket. And here is what it looks like. And as I said, not perfect, but definitely good enough. So for the back neck opening, I folded down a narrow hem and I also made a box pleat at center back. And after that, I folded up the front pleats that form the bust darts in front, pinned them in place, and after that it was time for the yoke. I made the yoke also out of this other fabric because it really needed the stability, I thought. So I pinned them first and sewed them to the front piece and after that to the back piece. Very uncomplicated procedure. I overlocked these seams and after that I just simply folded under the edge along the neck opening and top stitched that in place. And after that it was time for the sleeves or the ruffles, I should say, along the arm opening. And as I said, this was a finished garment beforehand, so all the edges of the fabric were hemmed already, and of course I'm going to use that. Not going to work if I don't have to. The width of the fabric decided how wide these ruffles could be, but that turned out just perfect. I had the measurement and then I just made a small cut along the edge, and this fabric is folded 4 times now. And I used this small cut to fold it over and cut along the first cut and then did it again and cut all the way like this. An easy way to not have to measure all the way. And this side has a narrow hem. The bottom or the short ends of this fabric has a wide hem and I'm going to be using that for the bottom ruffle. And these 2 sleeve ruffles I'm joining to 2 circles and I'm of course joining them with a French seam. So here I'm cutting down the seam allowance. I'm also joining them to the top with French seams. That means with all this much gathering, they do become a little bit bulky. I tried to cut them down as much as possible, but still. And also the sleeve opening is huge. You cannot wear this top without anything under it. Definitely, that would be flashing the whole neighborhood with your whole bra. Here's the bottom edge, the bottom ruffle with the hem already in place. It was a lot of fiddling to get this one to look good. It's also attached with a French seam. And with that, the top is done. Great! Time for the reveal. But first, I would like to ask you to hit the like button if you like this video. It would also mean a great deal to me if you would like to subscribe to my channel. That is, of course, if you find this content nice and entertaining and perhaps also educating. But now, over to the reveal.